Just a quick note before we head into tonight's video. The series channel is back online. There'll be a new episode of Survivor Meets Dungeon in about 30 minutes. So I hope that you all enjoy, and I'll see you all there. Anyways, on to the video. Greetings, ladies and metallers, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called 3 Jumps, written by Catfish21SM. Report 13964-805. I was recently assigned to a human research ship, testing their new jump drive technologies. With the help of the Tutelian Empire, our human colleagues were granted approval for uplift from the galactic community. I've been stationed here in order to monitor their progress and their efficiency of the jump drive. What I witnessed was by far the most terrifying thing that I've ever experienced in my life. We all know that humans are amazingly adaptable. Their adaptability scores are off the charts. I mean, that's expected for them, coming from a Deathworld and all. But what I witnessed goes beyond even my wildest imagination. At first, everything looked like a normal jump test, nothing unexpected in the slightest. Well, some of the humans didn't seem to be taking it as seriously as they could have. But different species have various different ways of expression, and for some, it's normal to perform bonding activities while performing other activities. Though rare, it does happen. So I wasn't taken aback when they began to tell jokes and giggle while adjusting the settings on their monitors. Then they started the countdown. A normal process for humans, apparently. Again, different species have different ways of expressing this, but most are similar in that they do have some expression to let everyone in the vicinity know that the test is about to begin. Then we jumped. Again, everything was fairly normal and went according to expectations. The engines obviously weren't calibrated correctly, leading to a rough jump that took longer than expected. However, I fully expected that, and so did they. Most species take at least a dozen jumps so to gather the necessary data and correct their calibrations. That's when everything started to go wrong. I was monitoring them, and as we left jump, it felt like the artificial gravity devices began to malfunction because the atmosphere on the ship, as the humans like to say, grew 10 times heavier. All of the humans were deathly serious. They had transformed in a matter of milliseconds from perfectly normal social species to one that had no emotion in their actions. They began to press buttons on their screen and shout information back and forth at an astonishing rate. I became dizzy just trying to keep up with the vast amounts of information just being communicated verbally. That's not even including the information being transferred through the monitors that I didn't even want to try and comprehend. Recordings are included with this log. Listen to them at your own discretion. I didn't even have enough time to speak up and ask what was happening before the countdown for the next jump started. I wanted to ask what all of this was about. At first, I was afraid of the potential psychological side effects that such a jump might have on the species. But I held my breath, mostly because I was merely here as an observer and to provide advice if needed. It was not my job to question the sanity of the crew. After the next jump, it appeared that they began to return slightly to normal. Information was still being shouted verbally at an alarming rate. Like a human child, they just learned profanity. However, I could have sworn that I heard a chuckle or two coming from the humans before the next countdown started. That's not the reason I chose to remain quiet, though. No, I chose to hold my tongue, as the humans say, because I could not possibly process what had just happened. The next jump was scheduled to be a 33% increase in distance from the first. However, my timekeeping device showed that we arrived at our destination even sooner. At first, I was taken aback. Did something go wrong? Did we have to stop the jump test early? No. Just as the thoughts began creeping into my cognitive organs, I heard screeches from the humans indicating that the jump had been successful, and that we had arrived as expected, at the expected location and time. I was stunned and could not speak. Then the third jump. Again the humans shouted and typed away at their monitors. Again the jump was longer distance and shorter time. Again I could not speak. For several minutes, I stood there in complete horror at what I'd just witnessed. Then the most terrifying thing yet occurred. The human captain walked up to me and displayed a diagram of the ship's jump drives. She asked if the designs were correct. I glanced at them, and after pulling up the diagrams from my own system, I confirmed that there were no differences in the physical construction of the device. The human captain said to me, "That's strange. You see here, this piece is slightly too large, and this one here, it is slightly too small. That's causing a slight tick and decreasing the efficiency of the drive." I double-checked the parts that she pointed out, and they matched perfectly with our diagrams. After confirming with her that there were no issues, she explained, "Well, by our calculations, by making some slight adjustments here, and there, we should be able to increase the efficiency of the engine by 0.3% and decrease the likelihood of failure by 13%. I looked at her in amazement before gathering my thoughts and explained, "That's impossible. Not only was this device designed and approved by our best engineers, but we have never had a report of a malfunction in our entire history." To which she replied, "Have you had ships with these engines go missing before?" "Well, yes." "How does someone stranded in the dark space, or worst, dead, report a malfunction?" "Oh, I suppose that they don't." "Don't worry. I would expect that it's extremely rare, and I already have my engineers working on it as we speak." I was completely taken aback by her comment. I didn't know whether to be worried that a species who had never designed their own jump drive was trying to repair this one, or the fact that what she said seemed to make sense. Well, I had no say in the matter, really. I was just here as an observer. However, I did fear for my life. That wasn't the scary thing that I was talking about, though. No. The scariest part of this whole experience was the return trip. I don't think that I need to explain what happened during the return trip. Everything went smoothly. Too smoothly. The humans were capable of not just adjusting their calibrations on the fly, as they say, and with minimal date, but they were able to improve our designs in only a matter of hours. Human adaptability is immeasurable. I still do not know whether to be amazed or horrified at the revelation and experience. All of the information that you need is recorded in the logs. However, as an observer, I would like to explain my terror at this new revelation. I fear that the humans will soon become the equivalent of an invasive species on the galactic stage. End of story. Story number 2. Terran aggressiveness, written by WegianWarrior. Jadaku Tumid panted under the hood that covered his head. He'd been in his office, going over the budget, as someone had snuck up behind him. Several someones, who had been eerily quiet, had slipped a bag over his head, cuffed his tentacles, and carried him out into this vehicle of some description. Jadaku's bulky body slid across the metal floor as the vehicle accelerated. He tried to fight his panic, tried to focus. He had to admit, gotten good at not panicking in the last couple of octal cycles. Employing a pair of humans had seemed like such a good idea. They were cheap, mostly diligent workers, and the occasional incident where the Deathworlder's strength or temper had caused issue could be mostly overlooked or ignored. The vehicle lurched around a corner. Jadaku slid on the floor again, bumping into what felt like a boot. A human boot. Jadaku panicked. Had he unintentionally broken a Terran social code? Had he inadvertently insulted the Deathworlders? Hadn't the female looked at him in an odd manner over the last tentacle full of cycles? Or was it? Jadaku fought a sudden urge to self-terminate. The male had told him to get out of the shop repeatedly, had he not? Clearly, the humans were not satisfied with wages that he paid anymore, but wanted to take over his business. The reasonable wages, Jadaku told himself. Quite reasonable wages. The mostly quite reasonable wages. Oh, mercy. He had underpaid them, had he not? Because they were human and few others wanted to employ them. Jadaku's heart raced as he failed to stop the panic from rising. Jadaku slid away from the boot as the vehicle suddenly stopped. Before Jadaku could react, he was pulled upright and the hood lifted from in front of him. There, so close that he could feel the hot mammalian breath, was the human female. Behind her, through the viewport of the ground vehicle, Jadaku could see the ocean. The big, deep, unexplored ocean. "Jadaku," the female said, fangs showing as she pulled her lips back. "You're going on a trip to see the fishies and stuff." Before Jadaku could react, the human male opened the door of the vehicle suddenly, carrying a bag half as big as Jadaku was. "Get him out of here," he snapped to the female. "We haven't got much time."
But why?
Jadiku managed to croak.
Why are you doing this to me?
Well, it's for your own good, the female said as she bodily lifted Jadiku up and out of the vehicle. Trust us. Ticket, the male said as he pushed the datapad into Jadiku's grasping limbs. Cruise ship, 2 weeks vacation. Your broodmate and offspring are already on board.
But
Vacation, the female said firmly as she got back in the ground vehicle. You're overworked. We have the schedule for the next month ready. The male had gotten into the ground vehicle as she spoke. Jadiku could only watch as they sped away, leaving him holding a ticket and a bag of luggage. End of story. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 peeps. Dragon Soup, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Red Panda 121, Leslie 517, Bushmaster 177, Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Sans the Skeleton, Lightjock, Dragzoon WRE, and Lord Azrakal. Thank you very much.